All right, last example for 8.3 today. This time we're going to write a void method named init, which accepts an integer array and the number of elements in the array, and recursively initializes the array so that a sub I equals I. So all the indices of my list, I want them at the end to be equal to the index is equal to the value in the cell. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 would be a length of 5. And we continue in that. So we're going to start out the same pattern as we did last time. Public static void. We're not going to return anything. Public static void init, not emit, but init, and integer array a, and that's what we really want, right? We really want to say, hey, give me this array, and what I want you to do is just initialize all the cells to have their index as their value. But to be able to do that, we need to actually call a function called I, and we're going to say it's going to take in a value, the array, and it's also going to take in the a.length, the length of the array, so that I can use this second parameter to cycle through each of the cells and make sure that I'm getting closer to that base case. All right, so I go public static void init integer array of a, and then I'm going to write this second helper method and a.length so that this method can call the helper method down here. Since it's a helper method, we didn't do this last time, but I can make this private. Now, nobody else would ever call this one because it's kind of odd to think about how many items you want in it, but you always want the full array to be initialized. So public static void I of an integer array a is my first parameter, and my second parameter is an integer n, which is going to tell me like how many cells I should need to initialize. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is think about our base case. If n equals 0, so if I've already initialized everything, we're going to return, and that's it. We'll just return and be done. Okay. Turn. Now, otherwise, I don't really need the else. I did this in the last one, and I realized halfway through that I didn't need the else. But I'm just going to say, all right, if this base case happens, return. Right. This is our base. That's the one that's going to make it terminate. Otherwise, a sub n minus 1 is equal to n minus 1. Now, since it starts off as as n is going to start off as the length of the array, in my example here, I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 as my indices. The length is 5. 5 minus 1 would first set this guy, all right? And then the second iteration through would set that one and that one. We'll kind of follow through until we get to the end. So we've got a sub n minus 1 equals n minus 1. I don't really need these square brackets here. And then I need to call init again and get myself one step closer to my base case. So I started at a length of 4, or length of 5, it's going to subtract 1 so that I go down to 4 and get closer and closer to the base case. I don't need an else clause. If this happens and I return, it will stop. These last two lines will never get executed because they just won't be reachable. Okay, the return is there. Flow gets returned back to wherever the method is called from. but we don't necessarily need that else. We could have put both of these items in an else, but we don't have to because of the way that return will stop that method. All right, so let's trace through it here. Imagine we've got this array, and it's got 5 cells in it, and so we would say init of A, which is pointing at this integer array. Yeah, right here. And so now that calls I of A, comma, A dot length, and starts off with a 5. Okay. Now this calls I of A sub, actually, I'm sorry. Before it calls that, it sets, oops. At this step, it says A sub n minus 1, so 5 minus 1 is 4, equal to 4. Cool, so it sets that value to a 4, and then it calls I of A, and 5 minus 1 is 4. That's going to set A sub 3 equal to 3. So it's going to set the second one, and then it's going to call down to I of A sub 3, which is going to do 3 minus 1 is 2. A sub 2 equals 2, which calls down I of A, comma 2. A sub 1 equals 1, which calls down to I of A sub 1, which says A sub 0 equals 0. And now I get a little bit nervous because I'm like, oh no, it's going to call down one more time because my base case was n equals 0. So A sub 0, but that base case, if n equals 0, just says, well, it doesn't do anything. It's done. Okay, so now I'm done. My array is all set to their indexes, and I'm all good.